our cities are evolving fast. Their needs depend on the society or the lifestyle that it brings.
We are, as a leader in lighting, also the flag bearer for the industry for driving towards a more sustainable and a more greener world.
We talk about better health, better security, better safety, better environment, better education. So this is where the sustainable lighting comes into play.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special Beyond the Headlines episode with me, your host, Amalina Kamal. Now, today we're talking about lighting, but trust me, it's no longer just about visibility. Now, from highways being retrofitted with LEDs to solar-powered streetlights in rural townships, as well as smart lighting in brightening up our office spaces, light has quietly become the driver of change in how we live and work. It's all about sustainability, of course, and digital transformation, as well as unlocking opportunities for Malaysia and the wider region. Now, to help brighten up today's discussion, we've got here on set Mr. Sukanto Aich, President of Signify Malaysia. Welcome, Sukanto, to Beyond the Headlines.
Hi, thanks for having me here. Pleasure. Looking forward to talking to you.
It's very great to have you here. Signify, for all our audience, if you don't know, it's the company leading the way in sustainable lighting solutions across the region. So I'm very interested to go into this topic with you. Lighting, what's the significance, right?
We are all about lighting. So our purpose is to unlock what we say is the extraordinary potential of light for brighter lives and a better world.
Nice. Brighter lives and a better world. And of course, we also have our ESG expert here on set, Harvin Kaur. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Amalina, for having me. It's always a pleasure. And looking forward to having a very fruitful discussion with Mr. Sukanto over here.
Now, why we have an ESG expert on set is because Harvin herself has been tracking Malaysia's transition towards low carbon footprint. So it's nice to have that balance when we are having this particular chit chat of ours, right? The first theme, light beyond illumination. Mr. Sukanto, a lot of people are, when they look at lighting, they just take it for granted. I just want to understand on your interpretation, what is lighting beyond illumination?
So as I started by saying that our purpose is to unlock the extraordinary potential of light, right? So let me take it in two parts. One is the brighter lives and the better world, right? So brighter lives, you yourself mentioned about solar lights in villages, right? About end of 2023, we were in this Orang Asli village in Trolag, Perak, and we were putting up these solar lights for this community. It surprised me that, a few hours drive from Kuala Lumpur, there's this community, unfortunately for whom life goes dark after sunset, right? So solar lights like this has been illuminating and brightening the lives of communities all across Asia and Africa under our various CSR programs that we run. So if you look at our Malaysia's national energy transition framework, it talks about such sustainable and green forms of energy, and Signify Malaysia is in a position to be able to provide such solutions which also benefit communities which are far-flung and where electricity may not have been reached.
Understood.
Beyond illumination, I think Dr. Harvin is also here. We are, as a leader in lighting, also the flag bearer for the industry for driving towards a more sustainable and a more greener world.
It's interesting, because it's nice to know that we have industry players who are actually for this particular change, this drive for sustainability. Harvey, I go to you. When we talk about light, right, as an innovation, how do we measure it? What is the proper metric for it? And where are we at when it comes to reaching our sustainability goals?
So lighting is actually very important, but it comes with measurable ESG indicators. Yeah. So when we talk about lower carbon emissions, we talk about energy efficiency. How much energy can we save? Transparent ESG reporting. So now it's all about walking the talk, I would say. Yeah, so we are in that transition where Malaysia is actually doing a fantastic job, if you ask me. According to Malaysian Energy Transition Roadmap, I think it's now all about getting it integrated with smart cities,
Mm,
renewable energies.
right.
So these are all actually very important when it comes to ESG.
But the bigger question here is that how do we move beyond having to look at it as like a CSR approach, right? Maybe we go to Sukanto first because you are an industry player. I mean, or you represent one of the industry players, right? So how can we look at having to drive for better sustainability practices more than just a CSR approach?
Yeah, so the in my earlier answer, the second part of the answer was on a better world,
Mm-hmm,
so which is clearly a more sustainable, greener world, right? Now we do it in two parts. One is internal. We have a few pillars, for example, climate action. As a responsible corporate, we are also committed to be net zero by 2040
mm-hmm,
across the entire value chain of our operations. And we are a global organization operating in more than 35 countries with 70,000 people, etc. So, we are trying to get there. And we are one of the companies who, every quarter, when we announce our financial results, we also announce how we are doing on these sustainability goals that we have for ourselves.
that is what you meant by
Yeah.
transparency
Yes,
reporting,
that's
right?
fantastic, actually.
So as I said, there is multiple platforms. I just talked about one, which is climate action.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have something which is called circularity revenue, which means, are we creating a portfolio of products and solutions which can be reused? So we have, for example, 3D printed luminaires today. You can reuse 75% to 80% of that material to create a new luminaire after the old luminaire is used up, right?
Mm.
Now, we are also tracking how much of our revenue is today coming from that portfolio. As per last count, 32% of our portfolio globally is coming from that portfolio of circular products.
Right.
So that is where we talk about energy saving, energy efficiency, recycling what we have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So bodies like EECA and, METR, they have actually created a really good foundation. However, when it comes to implementation and awareness, this is what Sukanto was talking about. So this is where the implementation takes place. So this implementation is within businesses. It's not just ticking the box that, okay, I am following this, but it's not. You have, like I said, you have to practice, you have to put it into practice, you have to implement whatever that is on policy, it is already running within your organization.
Mm,
So this is where ESG comes into ESG reporting.
understood.
Just to add on, Malaysia also incidentally has a national sustainability reporting framework. And ECA today is mandating these kind of industries that I spoke about before,
Mm,
right, who are consuming a large amount of energy,
mm-hmm,
to have energy auditors and energy managers who are supposed to audit and report these numbers, right?
mm-hmm.
And as part of ECA Act, they are looking at these kind of norms and matrices, as Dr. Harvin is talking about, right, which has to be reported by these industries and the commercial establishment as part of this framework.
That's very
So
interesting.
basically making these policies transformative rather than just performative.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
That's what we
Yeah.
don't want, right?
Yeah.
As you know, when we moved from conventional lighting to LED based lighting, right, must have seen a lot of the promotions by lighting companies like ours. Ended up saving almost 50 to 60% of the energy. Now we have an innovation. We are building up products around an ultra efficient technology platform
Mm.
where even on those LED lights, you can save another 30 to 40% energy, right? So if you are a corporate entity, for example, right, you could substantially save on those energy efficiency, as Dr. Harvin was mentioning, and reach some of those matrices or norms which the government is setting for you.
Mm-hmm.
So adding to that, yeah, METR basically mentions that the smart systems need to save about 50 to 70%. So this is actually what Signify has been implementing, which
Mm.
is a good thing.
We also have GITA and GITE, Gita and Gita. I'm not too sure. Excuse for if I pronounced it wrongly. The government's green incentives, basically. So for businesses and households, right, who are listening in right now, how can they actually take advantage of policies such as this, or does it require more work that needs to be put into because our sampling is just not huge enough?
In terms of sampling, yes, I would agree. It's not that huge, but it is being rolled out. So there is a continually sustainable method on how to roll out. So that is actually in practice. We will get there, but it is of. If I were to mention to you that we are already there, no, but we are getting there.
There is also green energy technology financing, right? So if under that policy, if you are investing in green technology, the government will give a guarantee from 60 to 80% of the financing for that project, which is coming from the financing agency.
Mhm.
And you also get a rebate of about 1.5% on the interest that you pay on these kind of investments. So if you are a corporate who's buying these green technology products from either Signify or anybody else, depending on the solution, you can avail all of these, right? So uh, I think when we are interacting both with consumers and corporates, I think there is a lack of awareness,
Mm.
the kind of incentives and structures that the government has put in place. I think that's what we are trying to promote, saying, hey, there is already incentives for you. Why don't you, just go for it?
Right.
Like, we have the My Hijau portal. So some of us have listed our products there, which of course has gone through the certification process with the government. Now, if you buy those products, you could directly get benefits under those programs and incentives that the government is rolling out.
Which not a lot of people might know. Yes, Harvin.
And if they have these kind of incentives and more people are aware about this, I think there will be a lot of new development, a lot of new retrofits, a lot of new smart cities that will actually implement this. Yep, in order for them to reap the benefits that the government is providing.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah. All right. So we understand that lighting is not just about bulbs, right? It's really about shaping policies and possibilities. And based on the discussion today, I think the bigger question that we want to ask next is what happens when you scale this up from individual projects to entire cities? Don't go anywhere because we'll be discussing just that in the next segment. And we'll be back with both our guests on set. Welcome back, everyone. Now, as Malaysia pushes forward with the National Energy Transition Roadmap and the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, lighting is increasingly at the heart of smarter, safer cities. Now we go back to the discussion. We've got Sukanto and Harvin here on set. Thank you so much, guys, for still being here. Let's just brighten it up a bit by understanding where Signify Malaysia position itself when it comes to being within the region and having to push for aligning smart lighting solutions with the NETR as well as the EECA.
I think the EECA in Malaysia is a very focused, act or framework that has been developed, which is focusing for us on large energy consumers. Now, if you look at the overall industry, we have about 28,000 plus industries who are registered in Malaysia. Out of that, less than 5% actually is in that level. So it's not that everybody is getting impacted, but the 5% or actually 4.3% of that registered industry consumes about 66% of the energy consumed by all the industries put together. So ECA has mandated this 21,600 gigajoules as the norm on which they want to work on it.
Okay.
So now if you look at the commercial buildings, right, less than 1% actually falls in that category. But that 1% consumes more than 21% of the energy consumed by all these commercial buildings. So if you take these commercial buildings or industries, and they can go for some of these green solutions, right? The good part with lighting is it is one of the lower investment for moving towards energy efficiency. Suppose you have to change your air conditioner, for example, right? Or in an industry, you have to change the chillers. Of course, it's a much larger investment.
Hmm.
In a commercial building, our research shows that about 20 to 22% of the energy is consumed from lighting. Now, I talked to you about other energy efficient lighting solutions. Just by going through it, some of these industries and commercial buildings can adhere to these kind of norms that EECA has clearly laid down.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, again, just to simplify things, if you just handle the 1% or the less than 5%, you're actually there. We're actually on track in that
Yeah.
sense, right? But let's talk about in practice, how does it actually look like in Malaysia? Are there certain gaps that we need to address at least?
So I think Dr. Harvin was earlier talking about matrices, right? So I was mentioning that there is a national sustainability, reporting framework.
Yeah.
So these industries are supposed to now have energy managers, energy auditors who are supposed to do this and continue to report. We recently announced an MOU. Signify Malaysia has signed an MOU with one of the Dutch companies here, Controls Union, who's an expert on certification. So, while we are providing the solution, there's an independent auditor who can come and look at your carbon emission norms, can look at your energy certifications and give you as to where you actually stand,
And this is
right?
done in parallel, basically.
This is done in parallel. Actually, it's of course, an independent thing, but yes, we can introduce such parties to our customers
Mm.
who not only just buy solutions from us, but can also help them report in a structured manner, audited manner to the regulators that are there.
How is this important?
So
Mm.
we talk about data-driven audits, right? Data-driven audits for ESG reporting. So I come from the academia. So within the academia perspective, our ESG is basically taught from the curriculum itself. So we embed it from there. So like when we speak about industry based, there is a driving relationship with the academia when we actually when we actually roll out these matrices.
At least when it comes to having to speak among your peers,
Yeah.
are there certain areas of interest that you really want to specify on or like put a focus on?
When we talk about ESG, the three main pillars is what we will actually focus on. So whether it's environmental, social, even governance policies for that matter. So these policies are just not to be written. These policies are to be implemented and rolled out within any organization.
Just curious, how are our youth actually looking into discussions such as this? Are they pretty accepting, or do they
I
look into until they reach into the industry, then they'll think about it?
Okay, I think change is difficult for people, but nevertheless, I think we are moving towards that in the sense that, for example, if I talk from the academia perspective, within our curriculum itself, we actually embed ESG reporting or ESG. We talk about a certain task within different modules in the degree program. So this is something that the students have to do, and they have that awareness that they need to do this in order for them to graduate.
I'm gonna go back to Sukanto. Our cities are evolving fast. Their needs depend on the society or the lifestyle that it brings about, right? When we talk about an urban city, the debates on EV usage, whether or not we have enough spaces for them, is always on top of mind, as well as whether or not the city is able to adapt with the climate at that present time. When you look at a city like Kuala Lumpur, we're always talking about how to address the flooding or how to lower down light pollution. So at least when it comes to Signify Malaysia, as an entity that is supposed to be driving change, how do we look at helping to help build cities that are more holistic?
Interesting question, actually. So let's put some data, right? By 2022, actually, Malaysia's, this again, the National Energy Transition Report shows that, we had already reached 75% urbanization. And this is likely to cross 85% by 2040. Now, that's a big challenge, right? You talked about multiple things. One of the main challenges in growing urban cities today is safety and security of the citizens who stay there, right? Now, where does lighting play a role? We have seen, and we are in the business of lighting. Our research has shown that having the right light reduces crimes by 20% and traffic accidents by about 30%. Many of us, while driving, you will see certain, dark patches and, certain lit up patches that is actually very dangerous for driving. Now, how does a smart connected lighting help? We have been in cities where actually they have people on a vehicle going around to check which of the lights are working.
Oh,
Today, we have the connected system where sitting in a command center, you can look at all the lights which are there. So, for example, in Malacca, we have about 6,000 of these lights which are all connected, which can be seen from the command center. So, anytime a light is not working, you know immediately, so that the maintenance team can be set and the light can be restored back, right? So, you are saving so much more on maintenance at the same time ensuring safety and security of the citizens.
mm. And that's what I mean, I suppose the breadth of the human impact that we want to highlight as well, right?
So two things is energy efficiency and low carbon. So if you are monitoring from a command center, you don't need to go around and get people to check the lighting, whether the lights are working or not.
Or with
I mean, that's saving a
resources.
lot of you are saving energy.
Mhm.
You are saving we are all about this urban development of low carbon ecosystem. So this is what we are actually trying to achieve.
You touched upon another point about the nature. So of course we are in the business of lighting. So of course sun goes down. We believe that we replace the sun and the lights come up. But there is more and more sensitivity. What about the nocturnal animals, right?
The light
So
pollution
today
aspect.
we have a portfolio which is actually designed for such areas. So if you have a green area which is encouraging more biodiversity, etc., and you buy those lights, they will ensure that the light is designed in a manner that it doesn't throw up light upward, so that there's more a dark sky kind of a situation, and these are there. You talked about the larger thing of smart city. In recently one of our industry events, right, we had the head of the command center of Putrajaya Smart City, who was talking about how lighting is integral to the larger digital infrastructure that he is monitoring. They have some 72 parameters, from sewage to
Hmm.
drainage to everything else that they are monitoring. And smart intelligent lighting is also one of those which is there in that command center.
That's nice to know. And
That,
Harvin.
that's brilliant community living actually,
Mhm.
because you are also these kind of methods or these smart solutions are what we need. Better health,
Right.
better ecosystem, better security, better safety. And it ensures the well-being of our community
Right.
basically.
Dr. Arvin has twice spoken about health and well-being, right?
Okay.
We have been talking about lighting only more from an energy efficiency, sustainability perspective, but ESG also has about our health and well-being. All of us are in these buildings in artificial light for 10, 12 hours, working at home after that,
It
etc.
affects us. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like everybody here watching, I'm sure, if you've been spending your time indoors under artificial lighting for like what, like 4 or 5 hours straight, when you suddenly feel the sun, you feel great. But that's the thing. We have smart solutions today. So because it's so hard to not be at your desk. Certain professions don't allow it.
Yeah, I think the basic thing, and Dr. Arvind might add to this, is the circadian rhythm that we keep talking about. So our bodies have naturally been used to the sunlight, right? We are supposed to wake up with the sun, and and of course, as the sun goes down, our body goes through these things, right? Now, light can be designed for it.
Yes.
Today, you are sitting under the same kind of light through the day. Actually, we have lights which in the afternoon, a certain shade of blue can reduce your sleepiness,
That
and instead of consuming more cups of coffee,
dynamic lighting.
most of us, our body is used to waking up with the sun. Our Wiz lighting platform can be designed that it's not you don't wake up with the jarring noise of the alarm clock. It can gradually, your room can be like a sunrise with the
Ambience
light doing
lighting.
ambience lighting, exactly.
Yeah.
Or a scene switch, right, where you can, when you're watching a movie today, in the same space, sometimes we are studying, sometimes you are relaxing, sometimes you are having a party. can that light set those different scenes for us so that, we can enjoy the whole experience much better?
Is there like a science behind why like certain like for me like I respond better to orange lighting or at least like a more like toned down, calm and cozy lighting than blue light. But some people they like to be in a blue light because it makes them more energetic.
Yeah, I think it's, of course, personal preferences. And, you could actually today, as you are sitting in your office space, each light on top of a person could be controlled. But then it might become a big issue in an office with different people playing around with lights. But generally, trend like we see in more, the Asian space, because we are used to so much sunlight, we like the cooler, bluer light. Whereas when I look at my colleagues in, let's say, Europe, because they hardly get sunlight, they like the more yellowish, warmish kind of lights.
Because like we were talking about how smart solutions can actually empower daily experiences, and this is just an example of it, right? But we want to talk about how, because Sukanto mentioned about how Malacca has its own solutions, Putrajaya has certain factors at play there. But when we look at Malaysia, comparing it to the Asian region, Harvin, in terms of having to push for ASEAN smart city planning, right? Why is like such a powerful factor here in terms of having to address the climate action considerations that are being pushed out today?
Okay, so like I've mentioned, I'm all about low carbon emission, ecosystem within urban development. So when we talk of along these lines, these type of smart cities, like ASEAN smart cities plan, right? These smart cities can create a backbone for other future urban developments that would follow. And these future urban developments would actually allow um, all lightings or dynamic lighting sensors, LED retrofits. There's a lot of stuff that we can actually embed into smart cities in order for us to ensure well-being, ensure security, ensure safety, ensure everything when it comes to smart cities plan. Yeah.
But what do you have to say to those who are still very much skeptical that this is all such a marketing push? Like, this term, the greenwashing term, that when we talk about having to push for ESG and as well as smart solutions, then you have all the woke society to come in and say, well, this is just part of a ploy of this greenwashing.
So this is something that we need to take into account, and we need to educate, be very civic minded about it to everybody that we can reach out.
Mhm.
These are the plans, these are the incentives. Leverage on the incentives given, leverage on all the opportunities given. I think Mr. Sukanto will actually agree with me on that. Yeah.
Since you're talking about smart city, for people to buy in, everybody's asking the question, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
So unless you design the solution which benefits the people, right? I mean, as you said, yeah, they will say it's somebody's initiative, somebody's greenwashing, and a lot of things happening. Or what's in it for me at the end of the day, right? I mean, we are still talking about smart cities, right? Now, as Dr. Harvin said, lighting is omnipresent, right? So you have the lighting poles everywhere. Now, what if I make that pole smart? For example, can I put a camera onto that pole, right? So tomorrow when there's an accident at that area, right, the lights can be up at the right time for the people to get the treatment,
Mm.
or that alert can happen, right? You could integrate it with the Wi-Fi signal out there, right? So you could make that smart pole so much more effective for the the audience or the citizens to feel the actual impact, instead of saying, oh, I have implemented a green energy solution.
That's true. That's true. And it's the whole idea of having it multi-purpose is having to actually cater to the various needs that people may have, or at least individuals who are saying, "What's in it for me in a smart city, and why should I
That's why
invest in
we
this
always
lifestyle?"
say,
Mm-mm.
you know, take advantage of the initiatives, take advantage of the incentives. There's so many incentives given. There's so many, plans being rolled out. I think the awareness is also something that we need to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Every large city and corporations across ASEAN, we are seeing them adopt these kind of norms, right? And they are trying to, of course, learn from other cities as to what are some of these best practices. We talked about Malacca here. For example, if you go on the north-south highway in Malaysia, we are talking about, right, West Malaysia, which is the biggest highway, about 20,000 LED lights are today again smart and connected. Now, in highway earlier, the same patrolling example I gave, just imagine the cost of the patrolling that was happening to monitor these lights if they are working or not working. And on the highway, when you are zooming at whatever 80, 90 kilometers per hour,
Mhm.
not having the right lights could be very dangerous for the driving, right?
Fun fact, I actually go the drive back down south on that highway because my campus was in Malacca. And previously it was that it's nice to know that people are actually thinking about it somebody from your
So
side.
just to tap on that, yeah, a simple utility can be a very strategic enabler.
Mm,
So this strategic enabler will create a very adaptive, a more resilient, a more robust, a nice urban ecosystem.
that's true. And when we talk about how our cities are fast evolving, how the homes, farms, as well as communities, especially we want to talk about how rural communities, or at least people who are maybe decentralized from Kuala Lumpur or big cities, are doing. And in this last segment, we will be looking at how Signify is empowering people within East Malaysia, right? So don't go away. We'll be back. Hello, welcome back. We've talked about policy and cities, but let's get closer to home because lighting innovation is also happening within our houses, farms, and rural towns, and especially in Sabah and Sarawak. But before we dive into these two states, what's actually happening in East Malaysia, I do want to understand first, to Sukanto, what are some of the key innovations that Signify has been bringing to Malaysian in their homes and businesses?
I think we have been focusing a lot on business, and thanks for directing the light towards homes. We, of course, are also working on consumers, and we have our Viz platform, which is the smart connected lighting platform for homes. And today we have a lot more features, right? For example, our recent features that we have added there is something called Space Sense. Now, how many of us had experience that in the middle of the night you got up to get a glass of water and all the lights in the house is switched off and you bang into something as you try to reach that glass of water in the kitchen, right? Now, our Space Sense uses the simple Wi-Fi
Mm.
thing, right, without any additional sensors to be able to allow you to safely go from your bedroom to the kitchen to get that glass of water. We are doing these kind of innovations on our smart connected platforms for also our homes.
When you embed these kind of innovations into ESG governance, you are actually building a very resilient. This is for community resilience. We also build equitable access.
ESG governance, obviously, we talk about having to ensure that that is like some sort of how to say room, or you're making space for the community that you are serving, right? But then we go to why this particular segment is being brought up. When we focus on East Malaysia, we want to talk about the communities that are not necessarily the first to be looked into when it comes to
Underprivileged.
innovation, or so we think. Not too sure. Signifies footprint, at least when it comes to having place itself in Sarawak, how to empower the community there. What are some of the solutions that you guys are bringing?
So, of course, I think the pace of investment in infrastructure in both the states of Sarawak and Sabah in East Malaysia is really picking up, right? So we had talked earlier about these solar lights that we put for this community in Perak, etc. Now, one of the best ways to reach out to these communities, and even you can start off by lighting up the community centers there or the common areas in a particular community or a village. Today, for example, Sarawak and Sabah is building the Pan Borneo Highway. Now, the Pan Borneo Highway, when you are building the highway initially, it might be more difficult to pull in cables, etc., to put the normal kind of street lights, which, let's say, a more developed area like West Malaysia
Mm-hmm.
can do much better, right? So, you could start off by the initial set of solar lights out there, which lights up as the work is happening. And as the infrastructure gets built up, you can relocate those solar lights to the next area, which is still not connected. So that's one of the ways we are working with the government's agencies in Sarawak and Sabah to develop it. Sarawak and Sabah is also trying to develop the tourism infrastructure. So we are doing a lot of, they have some very nice monuments which they want to showcase. They are also offering more to attract tourists out there. So we are also working with them to light up some of these key architectural highlights which attract tourists to these
Right.
areas.
It's particularly interesting to highlight this because we're talking about how we can provide accessibility to areas with maybe not necessarily have a lot of power distribution, or the power distribution is not so extensive, right? Are there steps that you take when it comes to having not just to talk with the local government, but the community?
So yes, there is a very close engagement with the community to see what kind of solutions will work for them and will help them be more productive and also build safety and security for them.
Are there anything in particular that they've highlighted that you want to share across from the community itself?
So I was giving you this example of the solar lights. You will be surprised that some of them ask me a question: how much is the electricity bill going to be for the solar lights,
Hmm.
right? And we have to tell them this is from the sun, so it's free,
Hmm.
right? We are sitting on a tropical country, we have all the sunlight, but people still don't understand that there's a potential to have lights for which you don't need to actually pay the energy bill.
Isn't that sad though, to have to come to that stage where people are looking at it like now it's like in dollars and cents, but now way to explain it back again, yeah, it comes from the sun, so why should it be that, right?
So when we talk about this is what we call sustainable lighting. Yeah, so sustainable lighting would be an environment and social enabler. So when we harness the power of the sun, we are staying in a tropical country. I mean, we have sun all year round, right? So this is where, like I mentioned earlier as well, is awareness. Yeah, awareness of people are not aware that solar powered you know when you put solar panels, it actually helps in terms of energy efficiency. It helps in terms of energy saving. You don't pay bills like how we used to pay. It's all becoming green. Yeah, green incentives that we have. And when I say this is a social enabler, um an environmental enabler, this is what I actually mean about energy saving.
Because I want to bring back the discussion to how we can promote better directions for us to reach the vision that Malaysia had for in 2030, and having to empower further circular economy goals here. It's interesting to know that Signify will be having better presence in East Malaysia, but how can we ensure that our policies also support that?
So when we talk about circular economy, we are talking about product take back schemes, or we are talking about redesigning something. So these are all actually reducing waste, and indirectly, these are actually helping ESG, environment. Yeah, so these that's why I that's why I always say that this particular circular economy, this is actually helping in terms of reducing the waste so that we can get recyclable designs.
Today, as responsible corporates, we need to think of designing our products keeping this circularity kind of things in mind. I'll give you an example, right? While it is not designed honestly for just East Malaysia, But East Malaysia also has a lot of coastline, right? One of the big pollution in seas today is the fishing net which are thrown into the sea or discarded after use, and these are all nylon fishing nets today and can be very harmful. We have this 3D printed luminaire which uses those discarded fishing nets as a raw material, and some of these luminaires takes up to 4 kilos of that material. So not only are we designing the products which is recyclable, but also using material which is less harmful, or is better for even an area like the sea environment.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's about promoting inclusive growth, right? And having to also ensure that nobody is left behind, meaning the underserved community is catered for today.
I did not get a chance to talk about, for example, one of the areas we work on is food availability, right? So we have these horticultural lights. I was in Cameroon a few months back, right? You will be surprised to hear that Cameroon Highlands in Malaysia, which is sitting literally on the equator, right? The farmers are saying that on an average, they don't get more than 4 hours of sunlight every day,
Hmm.
right? Today, our horticulture lights that they are using is actually helping them grow indoor farming. Of course, it's all greenhouse farming, right? With almost saving of 90% of natural resources like water and soil, and also almost without pesticides.
Yeah.
Specific to Sarawak and Sabah, we are working with one of the chicken farmers right
Hmm.
there, right? Chicken is, of course, big business in Malaysia, right? So we also have lights for them, which reduces right the culling or the death of the chicken, etc., and also increases the weight of the chicken per gram of feed that goes into it.
Hmm.
So there are these kind of solutions which are also working in Malaysia with different segments to enable food availability and security.
I'm just curious because now you're providing a list of like possible solutions that Signify has shared. But what about in the medical sector? How are there certain like groundbreaking initiatives that you have done that has changed the way things work, the industry work, or at least in Malaysia, within Malaysia itself?
So we have not been able to implement such solutions in Malaysia, but globally we have solutions which are designed for hospitals, right? Uh, One of the things is when you are, especially, let's start from when you walk into an OPD, right? You have certain symptoms, but you don't know the diagnosis, and the stress level is very high. Now we can design that OPD room lighting to reduce that stress in you. Today, hospitals actually don't make money if you occupy that bed for long, right? So they want you to recuperate quickly. So we have lights that post operations, how patients can recuperate quickly on this. We are now implementing a similar solution for Philippines, which is also something I kind of manage as part of East Malaysia. So yes, there are these solutions which are also designed for the hospital space, which can help the patient recover faster, be a little more relaxed, and be in a more natural environment. On this horticulture
Yeah.
thing, interestingly, it's just not just one kind of light for all kinds of vegetables. I learned what we call light recipes. Apparently, there are 72 different kinds of lettuces,
Yes.
and each one of them apparently requires a
Production.
different kind of light recipe for optimal
Production. Yes.
Lettuce.
lettuces.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah.
So does that make you a salad
Yeah, sure.
I have
expert now?
become one.
Interesting. No, but it is vertical farming is a trend that people are picking up. So it's interesting to see. I mean, people would know lighting plays a part. It's helping to
Very
grow
big role.
a big role.
Even in poultry,
your
like
green thumb.
Sukanto mentioned.
Yeah, so we have actually aquaculture. We are doing or sericulture, actually prawn uh, development, etc. And also we talked about chicken, animal lighting, and then of course horticulture.
So I just came back from a trip where we released around, I would say around 50 to 60 turtles into the river, the terrapins, sorry, my bad. Yeah, terrapins into the river. We do both basically, but when we talk about this, when they are growing, they also need a certain amount of light. They also need a certain amount of, their environment has to be right for them to grow.
Mm.
So this is what I am saying, that this suitable, sustainable, dynamic lighting works for them, this solution for them, for optimal growth.
Right. Coming back to having to push for sustainability practices or having to encourage people to look at the a sustainable solution as the way to go. And then we look at communities such as like in East Malaysia that's very detached at times when it comes to certain policy thinking, right? Um, how can we better encourage people to go into these transitions?
You're talking about embedding sustainability? Is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah.
Okay, so embedding sustainability within our culture, within our community, actually would make Malaysia remain more competitive. Number one. Number two, it will make climate action something that we are all passionate about because of global warming, something that we can actually drive, something that we can actually be one of the leaders, pioneers in doing a lot of stuff for the climate and for environment, basically. And not only that, in terms of social and governance. Yeah, we talk about the social aspect to things. It makes a community thrive. Yeah, growth is better. We talk about better health, better security, better safety, better environment, better education. So this is where the sustainable lighting comes into play.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Then for you, Sukanto, when we talk about lighting as a sustainable solution, what sort of call to action do you want to put out, especially to highlight and maybe correct the mindset or perception to Malaysians that lighting is not just a must or nice to have. It is actually a workable solution in ensuring that growth in Malaysia is, again, earlier on I mentioned, holistic.
No, I think just not lighting, as you have been talking about sustainability. Today, I think, also thanks to social media and media like you, we are seeing like natural disasters happening globally all across. Some place it rains, there is a landslide. There are other disasters happening which are there, and I think there is a growing or should be a growing consciousness among all of us to start investing in all of these. Right? Yes,
Mm,
today it cost a bit of a premium, right? But we need to all make an effort towards this. I give a simple example that instead of asking or paying a few cents to take a plastic bag from a store, how difficult is it for us to carry our own bags,
mm.
right? So I think it's about our mindset of sustainability which will happen there. So as Harvin said that lighting is everywhere. We are all buying lights for our houses, for our offices, for our industries, etc. Right? Why not make the right choice? Why does it have to be a green choice and not an obvious choice today for the right kind of sustainable lighting?
That's nice.
I think in the future, infrastructure without ESG principles would actually become obsolete.
Because it's not
Because we are
there's
not
no
talking,
continuity,
we are,
legacy.
we are not only talking about green, we are talking about being future ready.
Right.
This is something that we need to, make sure everyone is aware of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much both for your insights. I think we had a discussion, not just scratching the surface about what lighting beyond illumination can be, but it's about how you empower your life and how you change your lifestyle in terms of pushing towards a more sustainable approaches, right? Thank you again. I would like to say to our guests that's here on set today, Sukanto Aich from Signify Malaysia, President of Signify Malaysia. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure being here, and thanks for the nice chat, Harvey.
Thank you as well, Harvin, our ESG expert, for being part of the discussion.
Thank you so much for having me today.
And to our audience, if you do like this particular episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to also turn on the notification bell. If you haven't already, you'll not only get NSC Beyond the Headlines update or NSC Beyond the Headlines special updates, you'll get NSC Online's news reports all delivered to you. I am Amalina Kamal. Don't forget to follow us on our socials. We are on everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, as well as Threads. I'll see you next week. And thank you again from us here on the show.